So, right. So we'll continue with the trigger concepts. We'll continue to see some more basics of the trigger. We'll understand what is a recursive trigger, circular trigger, order of execution of the trigger. Then we'll try to take 2 or 3 more use cases on the triggers. Okay. First, let us understand what is a circular trigger, what is a recursive trigger. Before I go ahead, or if people are comfortable in writing what is it, okay, comfortable in writing a trigger. Purpose of trigger is clear for everyone. Purpose of trigger is clear for everyone. Can you write the basic programs of a trigger? And next, the logic rating will come to you. You can understand the logic rating only when you do number of examples. Right? You cannot gain logic rating by looking at one example. So start implementing the use cases which are given in the Excel sheet. Start implementing the use cases. Even on the hard copy which is given to you, almost there are 20 triggers. There are 20 triggers which are given in the hard copy. So don't copy the program, don't type it. You're not supposed to make DDP operation. The material was given to know in case you got stuck up how to make it. So make an attempt of writing your own logic. You got stuck up, then check my code. Don't make copy paste or DDP operation. So look at recursive triggers. What is a recursive trigger? How do you implement the recursive triggers? Now, let me make it simple. Let me make it simple. Look at the format. This guy, what is a recursive trigger? What is a circular trigger? Look at this. Is Sham. This fellow done the love marriage boss. This fellow done love marriage. Who invented his problems? He himself. Sham called his own problems. Sham called his own problems. Now, then what is it? He said, by looking at the Sham, Ram went for arranged marriage. He called his father, asked him to look for a girl. His father called one agent. He looked for a girl. Finally, Ram got married. Now, who invented his problem? Right. Ram called father, father called agent, agent called Ram. Now, finally, the problem came to Ram. Either you do this way or this way, it is an exception. But the point is, if you call yourself, right, you cannot speak to your parent also. Here, if you have a problem, at least you can speak to some X, Y, come back. It is what? Circular trigger. This is what? Recursive trigger. You call yourself, it is a recursive. A call B call C call A. It is a circular. A call A call A call A, recursive. A call B call A, circular. In both the cases, it is what? Exception. Both of them will lead to exception. Both of them will lead to exception. It's because it's a loop. You cannot come out of it. It's a loop. You cannot come out of it. Both of them will lead to exception. Then how do you handle this exception? Is the question mark. So how to handle recursive triggers or circular triggers is the question mark. Right. Now, let us see one quick example. Let us see one quick example how the recursive triggers will be called. Let me deactivate the existing triggers. So I have employee opportunity. Let us take an example. Public static void. Now, when you call this method, account is getting inserted. When you insert the account, what will happen? When we insert the account, what will happen? It will call insert trigger on the account. Am I right? Whenever we make an attempt to insert an account, account trigger will be called. Am I right or wrong? When you make an attempt to insert an account, insert trigger on the account will be fired. When you make an attempt to insert an account, insert trigger on the account will be fired. Okay. Look at the format. I'm calling. Within the trigger, I'm calling this method. So, when is this trigger called? When account is created, trigger will be called. Within the trigger, what we are doing? Inserting one more account. If I insert one more account, what this account will do? Call insert trigger. Again, insert trigger will create one more account. One more account will call trigger. Trigger will create account. Account will call trigger. What is happening? Circle. Are you getting? When an account is created, trigger is called. Within the trigger, what I am doing? Inserting one more account. When you insert one more account, automatically it is also going to call one more trigger. The same trigger is called one more time because we are inserting in the account trigger, we are inserting an account. In the before insert trigger on account, we are inserting account. Obviously, what happened? Trigger calling itself. In the trigger, I wrote a logic to insert an account, which will be calling before insert trigger. Again, trigger calling. Are you getting my point? Trigger calling the same trigger. Look at this example. You know what happened? Insert failed. Why? Look at this. Before insert. It is calling number of times. Trigger calling itself. But what I want, how do you avoid this recursive trigger? If a trigger is calling itself, how can you avoid? I may be having a scenario whenever the parent account is create a child branch. I may have a requirement to create one more account on the same record. Then how do you avoid this? In that case, I will go with the public static boolean. Static variable means common for all the objects. Then I told if flag equal to true, Then make the flag as false. If flag equal to true, make the flag as false and run the logic. If flag equal to true, then make the flag equal to false, run it. Second time when you call, what is the value of flag? False. So logic will not run. Only one time the logic is going to run. So if flag is true, run the logic and make the flag equal to false. Second time when you call, flag will become false, logic will not run. So how do you avoid recursive trigger? Look at this. Record is saved successfully. Are you clear about this? Right. So how to avoid circular triggers and recursive trigger? By using Boolean static variable. Check the value of the flag. If flag equal to true, run the logic. If the flag equal to false, don't run the logic. I hope you are good. Clear for everyone? Okay. Next, what is the order of execution of triggers? How the triggers are going to be executed? Order of execution of triggers. Order of execution of triggers. What is the order of execution of triggers? So this is the number of steps involved. So what was that? First, fetch the record, then check the validation rules. Fetch the record, then check the validation rules. First system validation rules. When is the system validation rules? Required fields are entered or not, data type is matching or not. This is system validation. First, fetch the data, check the system validation rule, check the custom validation rules, then go for before triggers, then go for before triggers, again check the validation rules, then check the duplicate rules, then save the record, after triggers, assignment rules, auto response rules, workflows. In the workflow, if there is any field update, again check the before triggers. Then after checking the workflow rules, then we have process builder, then escalation rules, entitlements, process builder, escalation rules, entitlements. Then we have roll-up summary fields if there are any, and if there is any update on the parent records using cross-object formula or any updates on the parent, do it. Ready rebase sharing rule, then commit the data, then send the emails. So overall, to make it simple, I'll give the order here. Fetch data, validation rules, system validations, custom validations, then before triggers, then again validations, then duplicate checks, then save the record, then after triggers, assignment rules, auto response rules, workflows. In the workflow, if there is any field update, workflow rules. In the workflow, if there is any field updates, then again call. If there is any field update, call again. Call step number 3. Then we have escalation rules. Escalation rules. we have escalation rules, then we have entitlement, escalation rules, entitlement process, then we have roll-up summary, parent field update, then cross object formula, sorry, it's a criteria based sharing rule, then commit the record, then send. You create a record, update a record, you delete a record, this entire process will. You create a record, you update a record, anything that you do on an object, the entire steps will run. The entire steps will run. This is the order of execution of triggers. This is the order of execution of triggers. This is the order of execution of triggers. Order of execution of triggers. Go through the flow. If you have any questions, go ahead. Go through the flow. If you have any questions, go ahead. Go through the flow. If you have any questions, go ahead. Order of execution. This is very, very commonly asked question in the interview. Very, very commonly asked. They may ask you which will run first before trigger or workflow rules. The combination they'll ask you. So you have to go through all these things clearly. Order of execution of triggers. This is very, very commonly asked question in the interview. This is very, very commonly asked question. This is very, very commonly asked question. Let us go to the next one. You are comfortable with this? Right. Let us go to the next one. We are trying to make a conclusions from this. Let us see the conclusions what we are going to make. Right. Look at the format. Let us try to have some quick questionnaire here. Try to understand this one. If we insert 1000 records in an object, how many times the trigger will fire? If we insert 1000 records in an object, how many times the trigger will fire? Trigger will be fired only once. Logic will be written on all the records. Trigger will be fired only once, but logic will be defined on all the records. If there are 1000 records in an object, how many times the trigger will fire? One time. But logic will be running on every record separately. Okay. How to make a trigger as a bulk trigger? How to make the trigger as a bulk trigger? How can you make the trigger as bulk trigger? By default, every trigger is bulk trigger. Trigger, you do not do anything. By default, they are bulk triggers. If you have a choice to implement logic using before trigger and after trigger, which you prefer? If you have a choice to implement a logic using a before trigger or after trigger, which you prefer, why you prefer? Now, if you have a choice out of before or after, I will prefer before. Why? Any logic that we write in the before, the record which we are inserting, the record which we are modifying, on that record, if you make any logic, it is a read operation. It is a read and write operation. If it is after, I have to write a SQL query. If it is after, I have to write a SQL query. If it is after, I have to write a SQL query. Then get the records, make the changes using a DML operation, then perform it. If it is a before, then it is a read write operation. If it is after, SQL and DML. So we have a limitations on SQLs and DMLs. There is a reason I prefer to go with the before triggers. I hope you are good with this operation. Okay. So let us go to the next one. The next one is how to avoid recursive triggers. By using Boolean static variable. What are the good practices you have followed? What are the good practices you have followed? One is writing the logic. In FX class. Then avoiding SOQL, DML in a right. Then preferring before wherever there is a possibility. Then we had okay. What is the next one that we had? Can I write more than one trigger on a same object? Can we write more than one trigger on a same object? Can I write more than one trigger? Same object with the same event. Can we write more than one trigger on the same object with the same event? Like I got trigger example 1. Now there are two triggers on the same object. With the same event. There are two triggers on the same object with the same event. Can I write it? Yes. No problem. We can write it. But not a good practice. Why? We are not sure which will run first. Now, if the order has any impact, then we are going to lose the business logic. Suppose I have like this. This is the logic. Here I took one more. Now, if this logic is running first, industry is not banking, reading will not come. Suppose if this trigger is running first, industry equal to banking, here every record will be reading equal to order. So order has an impact, right? But can you guarantee which is going to run first? We are not going to guarantee which is going to run first. There is a reason order of execution is not guaranteed. So it is not a good practice to define more than one trigger on an object. It is not a good practice to define more than one trigger on the same object. Are you clear? We can define it, but it's not a good practice. We can define it, but it's not a good practice. Right. Next, can I write more than one trigger on the same object with a different event? Answer, no issue. There's no impact. Okay. I hope you're good with this. So we need to understand what is the difference between workflows and workflows also automated rules. Trigger is also automated rule. Workflow is a automated rule. Trigger is also automated rule. Then why you are going for a trigger? Workflow will be after insert. Triggers are going to be workflow can perform only update on the record on which we are running the workflow. Trigger can perform any action, any daemon action on any object. Right? Workflow rule is going to run after insert, after update. Triggers are going to be before insert. I hope you are good with this. Right. Next. When you already have a process builder, then why? Process builder also workflows. Like process builder also will have only before, after insert, after update. But triggers can have. There's a difference, right, boss? Okay. Now, I hope you are good because workflows, process builder are also automated action. Then why are you coming? Then let us go to the next. I hope you got the points here. Clear for everyone? Now, let me make a conclusion here. Try to understand these conclusions clearly. What are the variables we had? Trigger.new. Trigger.new map. Trigger.new, trigger.new map, trigger.old, trigger.old. SQL. Now write a SQL. Events, trigger events. So let us start with the first one. Before insert. Before insert. If it is before insert trigger, tell me what happened. Do you have trigger.new in the before insert? Yes. You have read in the before trigger always it is what? The records which we are on records are which trigger is running. I am not speaking about the data which is already saved. I am speaking about the data on which the trigger is running. What we can perform? Read, write. No SQL. The new records are not saved. Do you have trigger.new map? Why? Trigger.new map will come only when you insert the record. It is before insert, so records are not saved. Then have After insert. When it's after insert, do you have trigger dot new? Read. Now once the data is inserted, if you want to make any changes, what you are supposed to do? Sock call query. Trigger dot old. There is no concept of trigger dot old in the insert triggers. In the insert trigger, we have only trigger dot. Before means read write. After means sock call DML. As simple as that. Before update. If you take before update, we have trigger dot new. If it is a before it old, read. Trigger dot old, read. It is old data. You can write a sock call query to get it. No DML operation. Then we have after update. After update, trigger dot new. If it is after, what we are supposed to do? Sock call and DML. In before, read and write. In after, sock call and DML. After means old values are modified as new. Old values are already modified as new. When old values are modified as new, when old values are modified as new, when old values are modified as new, there is no more old data. I cannot get the old data from database. The next, delete. Before delete. The delete, there is no concept of trigger dot. Trigger dot old. Old is always meant for what? Old data. The data which you are deleting is the old. When you are already deleting, what is the use of modifying it? When you are already deleting, what is the use of modifying it? After. Right. This is how we got. Last one we take after and delete. This is from the recycle bin. If you undelete the record, this logic will run. Right. Only after the data is removed from the recycle bin to object. Undelete. After the record is undeleted, the record will come back to the object. Then only the logic will run. After means what? This is sock call and this is what we got. I hope you are good with this. I hope you are good with this option. This is, if you understand this, rest all what we wrote in the trigger is a Apex programming. Only we need to understand what is there in the trigger.new, what is there in the trigger.new map, what is there in the old, what is there in the old map. If you know which data is available, which variable is available in which trigger, it is sufficient. Rest all the logic is what? List, set, map, SQL, daemon. Entire logic what we wrote, it is a list, set, map, SQL, daemon. Only the extra thing is what is there in the trigger.new, on what we can perform on trigger.new, when is this trigger.old available, what we can perform in trigger.old. This is only the concept. If you understand this variable, what we can perform on this variable, which variable is available in which trigger, rest all the concept is only regular Apex programming with list, set, map with SQL and daemon. I hope you got my point, right? Is this structure is clear for everyone, right? So try to make a note of this. This will be helpful to you, right? Online people, meanwhile, if you have any question on this structure, let me know. Online people, meanwhile, if you have any queries, let me know.
Plus, sir, how are we going to use the custom settings in the triggers?
Now, you want to avoid a trigger, execution of a trigger for a particular person.
Okay.
Okay. Then we can use the custom setting. You can say hierarchical custom setting and say, don't run the trigger for this particular user.
So that means
I'll try to cover one example now.
Okay.
I'll try to cover one example.
Okay.
Hello.
Yes.
Satish, can you explain once before update line?
Before update. If it is a before update, we have trigger.old, trigger.new. If it is a before update, we got trigger.old, trigger.new. If it is a before update, we got trigger.old, trigger.new. If it is a before update, we got trigger.old, trigger.new. So look at the point. Before update, trigger.new, trigger.old, both we have. Trigger.new, trigger.old, both we have. So in this case, if it is a before, whatever the changes we are making, it's a read and write. In the before, any data we are trying to make a change, it is a read and write. If it is a trigger.old, the data which is in trigger.old already we modified it. Because we already modified it. Because already we modified the data. Because already we modified the data. Because we already modified this data. Okay, so there is no changes that we can perform on the trigger.old. Only we can see what is the data that is there in the trigger.old. Only we can see the data which is there in trigger.old. Because already data is modified. Because data is already modified. Because the data is already modified. Right. So we can only perform read operation on trigger.old. In all the context, most of the time, trigger.old is used for. In all the context, most of the time, trigger.old is used for. referring to the old data. We cannot perform any changes on the data. We cannot perform any changes on the data. We cannot perform any changes on the data. I hope you are good with this. Yeah. Did you follow my point, boss? Because the data is already modified. Because the data is already modified. Because the data is already modified. Trigger.old, always we try to perform read operation. Trigger.old, we always try to perform read operation. Right, boss. Let me give, someone has asked me, how do we use custom settings with respect to triggers? Let me demonstrate one example for you. Now, I have a trigger. Look at this example, everyone. We give it like this. Let's go back. Try to create a hierarchical custom setting. Setup, build, develop, custom setting. I guess we already created a custom setting called test data. The test data manage for system administrator. For system administrator profile, what is the value I give? So this for system administrator I give false. For entire organization I give true. For entire organization is true. So the value is true for everyone. For system administrator the value is false. Now I wrote a trigger here. We wrote a trigger here. When you wrote a trigger here, I want this trigger to run for everyone except for Satish. I want this trigger to run for everyone except for Satish. Okay, for next 7 days. For 7 days, I don't want this trigger to run for Satish. So what I'm doing, test data, what is the object name? Instance of this one. Get me the value as per the current user. The user who logged in right now, get me the instance of that user. Then I told if t dot active equal to true. If the value of the active field is true, then it's true for everyone except that's true for everyone except for Satish. There is a true for everyone except for Satish. The value is true for everyone except for Satish. Value is true for everyone except for Satish. If active equal to true, then I want to run a logic. Take a dot rating equal to this is what I get. Now this logic will run for everyone for whom I gave the custom setting active equal to true. For whom did I give active equal to true? For everyone except for system admin profile. Then what happened? Go back here. I inserted the data. Look at this. No rating, no phone, no ownership. Because the trigger is not running. Tomorrow, I decided that even for this guy, trigger should run. So what I can do? Go to custom setting. I will not make any changes in the code. Go to custom setting and say for system administrator it is a true. So without modifying any code, I told for 1 week don't run. After 1 week, I asked them to run. So go back again. Then what happened? Look at this. Code 1, 2, 3, 4 public. So without modifying the code, we can block the execution of a code for a particular user or a particular profile by using what? Hierarchical custom setting. I told I have created a hierarchical custom setting. I told flag equal to true for everyone. For system administration profile, flag equal to false. In the trigger, I wrote a logic. If that is true, run this logic. Otherwise, don't run. Tomorrow, if you don't want the trigger to run for any particular user, go to hierarchical custom setting. Say for this user, make the flag equal to false. We don't change the code. We'll go to custom setting, add and remove the users or profiles as per your choice. So without modifying the code, how can you control execution of triggers? That is by using custom settings. Without modifying the code, how can you control the execution of the triggers? By using hierarchical custom settings. I hope you are good. Clear for everyone? Okay. Now, let us do some basic examples one more time on the triggers before I conclude. Everyone, write this code. Create a trigger on lead object. I can give whenever new lead is created. Whenever a new lead is created, send an email to the lead. Now, whenever a new lead is created, send an email to the lead with the following details. Now everyone create the program. How do you create this? First, I told you to write a class, public class example. Now what you are passing, you're going to pass list of new leads which are created. Write the remaining program. Take one by one lead, create an email, create one by one lead, send an email. Create one by one email. How you are supposed to do? Then we are going to create a messaging dot. Message dot set what is the to address? L dot If you're confused, put them as a separate one. Message rod set subject. Then you're supposed to create a body. Body equal to body. Some message I have created. This I have to put them in. Mails dot add message. Then we are going to put this is the class. This class we are going to invoke where? Within the insert ticket. This is an email program. When I got a list of leads, I took the list of leads and sending an email. This we are going to call it where? We are going to call it within the trigger. We are going to call it within the trigger. I hope you are good with this. Good with this. Right. Let us take the next one. People are good with this example. Whenever a new account is created with industry as banking, create a new opportunity. So do this. Whenever a new account is created with industry as banking, create a new opportunity. Whenever new account is created with industry as banking, then create a new opportunity. Whenever a new account is created with industry as banking, then create new opportunity. So first create them as a Apex class. Public static void call me. Then create the list of opportunities. Because I don't know how many opportunities I'm going to create. What you are supposed to do for account A, take one by one account. If A dot industry equal to bank. If industry of the account is banking, then you are supposed to create now. Why I'm not writing insert here? Why? If there are 1000 accounts, insert will be called 1000 times. But maximum number of times that we can call DML is 150. There is a reason never write a DML within the loop. So I'm giving after list dot add. Then we are giving here. This you are going to call within which trigger? Whenever an account is created, so whenever an account is created, it is an account trigger. Trigger example. After or before. Why I want to create a child record? The call. Example dot.
Hello.
Yes.
Satish, can you please explain me once again why we don't use DML operations in loops? Please.
Now, within a method, maximum number of DMLs what we can perform is 150. Maximum we can perform 150 DML operations. Now, if suppose if the list is 1000, how many times you are going to call a DML? 1000 times. It will throw an exception. Maximum number of DMLs that we can perform is only 150. Maximum number of DMLs that we can perform is only 150. Number of DMLs that we can perform within a method is only 150. If it is more than 150, it throws an exception. Now, when you are writing a trigger, I am not sure how many records you are trying to insert. If there are 1000 records or 10,000 records which you are trying to insert, the DML will. But as per the rule, only 150 DMLs can be called within a method. Okay, Rama? Got it?
Then
Within
if
a
we are
method.
writing outside, won't we make any problem?
Come again? Now,
If
how
we are
many
writing
DMLs you are
outside-
calling? Now, it is only one DML, no? Now, you are calling DML how many times? Only one time you are calling. But if you write it like this, you are calling the DML number of times. One time, second time, third time, fourth time, like that. You are calling number of times.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Next, whenever we delete a contact, delete the corresponding account. Whenever we delete the contact, delete corresponding account. Whenever we delete a contact, delete the corresponding account. Whenever we delete contact, delete the corresponding account. Whenever we delete a contact, delete the corresponding account. Now, contact and accounts, how they're assigned? Then what I'm doing? Take one by one contact. See if there is any account for it. C dot account ID not equal to. If the contact account ID is not equal to blank, then add them to ACC. If the contact what we are trying to delete, if the contact has any account ID, the contact what we are trying to delete, if the contact has any account ID, get those accounts, then straight away write the circle query. List of account. Then delete. Did you follow my point? Whichever the contact we are deleting, get the account ID of the contact and write a circle query, delete them from the database. Fine. That's all from my end. There are 12 triggers which are there in Excel sheet. try to implement them. I'll upload 20 more triggers use cases in the Facebook community, or I'll post it on your charter. Okay, implement those two. Already on your nodes, there is 20 triggers I have given. On the nodes, trigger nodes, there are 20 triggers. In the Excel sheet, there are 12 triggers. I'll upload 20 more triggers in a day. You are supposed to implement all of them, right? They are supposed to implement. In the nodes already they are implemented triggers, so you only copy paste it, right? So I have given some use cases in the Excel sheet. Use case in the Excel sheet. You are supposed to implement. Please implement the use cases which are given, then only you get the hands-on experience. I'm repeatedly saying it, do implement the exercises which are given in the Excel sheet. Otherwise, you will not get hands-on. Implement this. I'll post 20 more triggers on the Facebook community by end of tomorrow. You start implementing those also, right? So that's all from my end.
Satish,
Hi Satish.
Yeah.
Satish, in that email example, we have taken string of emails, right? Can you explain what is it actually? How we are adding email addresses?
Yeah, no, lead is there, no.
Yeah.
Lead dot email. I'm adding to the to address. Then I told,
Okay. Why is that string open braces and close braces? We are taking. We can even
now,
just
I
take
can
string.
give static, no. If not, what you are supposed to do? Because when I know the value, why to make it dynamic like this? Otherwise, you are supposed to do it like this. When I know the value, why to make it dynamic? Straight away give it. Otherwise, you have to write it in 2 lines, right?
Okay.
Right.
Satish, in case I want to do some unit testing while writing triggers, how can I do that?
The testing will be doing it first. We are not done the topic. So that will be coming after batch effects, schedule effects. Once I complete the synchronous operation, I'll go with the testing operations. Okay.
Okay, Satish, no, just I'm asking about the trigger that logic that we are writing. We can use our console.
I didn't get it. Come
Anonymous,
again.
we use execute anonymous window, right? Using that.
See, inside a record, make a
Yeah.
DML on whatever the object you have written a trigger. Okay. Inside the trigger, in the anonymous window, the trigger will be automatically fired. See, when the trigger will be fired, when you try to make a DML operation, you make a DML
Correct.
operation on the object, automatically trigger will fire.
Yeah, right. Thank you.
Right. That's all from my end. See you all in the next session.